Hey guys, welcome back to another Diecast Radiator Studios review. Today we're going to be reviewing something a bit more different than I usually review. I don't usually review larger larger scale cars and and also I haven't really reviewed any NASCAR diecast on my channel ever before. I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't think so ever. Right? I don't think I've ever reviewed an actual NASCAR diecast on my channel, but hey, you always got to experiment. But yeah, today we'll be reviewing this Scott Riggs 2006 NASCAR diecast uh, from the 2006 Coca-Cola 600, which obviously is there are some cars references on here too, because obviously this diecast or this car right here was actually to commemorate the release of the very first Cars movie when it was coming out back in 2006. But we'll talk about the race a little bit later on in this video. But yeah, let's just get on with it. So yeah, this car right here was driven by, of course, Scott Riggs for Everham Motorsports, and he drove this car not only in the 2006 Coca-Cola 600, he also drove this car in the 2006 Dickies 500, but there is some differences with the paint schemes, but it's like a minor difference. But yeah, but this car was very competitive in the 2006 Coca-Cola 600. Scott Riggs actually got the pole for that race, and I have actually seen that race. I don't know how many times, but yeah, Scott Riggs was very competitive, and he almost won the race, but a mishap on the final the final pit stops for the Coca-Cola 600 cost him the race because um, he ended up stalling the car on pit road, and he didn't enter his pit road correctly, and the team took equipment out of pit road, and that's what caused them to lose the race because NASCAR ended up penalizing the team, and Scott Riggs had to bring the car on pit road once again to, well, pretty much serve his penalty. And unfortunately, that cost him the race because he was only able to uh, only get a 13th place finish in the Coca-Cola 600, even though he should have won the race. But unfortunately, it wasn't able to, come to fruition. But yeah, he did have another shot to win in this paint scheme in the 2006 Dickies 500, but unfortunately, he ended up crashing. Well, he ended up getting loose into going into turn 4 and wrecked the car. Yeah, he was in second place, but Kevin Harvick ended up getting him loose, and well, he hit the wall. Yeah, those were some pretty misfortunate events, but yeah, that I would recommend you just watch the 2006 Coca-Cola 600. Coca-Cola 600. You could probably watch it on the NASCAR Classics website. But yeah, Scott Riggs was definitely competitive, but he was not the only car that actually bore some cars logos on there to promote the movie at the time, because you had Kyle Busch in the number 5, and then of course you had Tony Raines in the 96, who actually had a Lightning McQueen paint scheme. I'll put up a picture of those two paint schemes, but unfortunately we don't have the Tony Raines car because that one was never released. Yep. Unfortunately, yeah, he got canceled. That car got canceled because I think at the time, since Mattel owned the rights to the diecast to produce Cars merchandising, they weren't allowed to release anything that was related to cars in the NASCAR line. So yeah, unfortunately, it got canceled. But yeah, also another interesting thing is that during the weekend of the 2006 Coca-Cola 600, they were actually cars did actually premiere at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, or back then as it was called, the Los Motor Speedway. I know I'm talking about a little bit too much about the history of this race, but it is very important because, well, obviously this is when they had the premiere of the first Cars movie, and they actually did show it off. There is pictures of it. I'll probably put some pictures of it, and I'll try to credit the original person who actually posted these pictures. You should probably follow him on Instagram to, if you're a big NASCAR fan, you should probably follow these because there's some very interesting stuff. But I will credit the original person. But yeah, Tony Raines, well, they had his car there at the red carpet premiere. But yeah, but anyways, let's just get on with the review because this is taking a little bit too long. So of course, yep, he was driving a Dodge Charger yeah, Everham Motorsports, obviously, they were big supporters of Dodge when they were still in the Cup Series. I know they are returning to the Cup Series sometime soon because the Ram is coming back to the Truck Series for this year. And NASCAR season is about to start. So, yeah, but back then in the 2000s, they drove the Dodge Chargers. You had the number 10, and then you had the Valvoline logo, and then obviously you have Disney presents a Pixar movie, well, Pixar film, and then you have Cars, you got Lightning McQueen, and then the King on the hood, and then you have Valvoline, and then the other sponsor, Stanley, that Scott Riggs had. And then, of course, you got a bunch of contingency sponsors. You got the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, which that was the main sponsor of NASCAR at the time. And then you got Goodyear Eagle tires, and then you have the number 10, and then you got this patriotic scheme, which I do love this paint scheme. This is actually still to this day, my favorite Valvoline scheme that has ever been in the NASCAR Cup Series. Got the number 10 with the Everham number fonts, kind of. And then you got Lightning McQueen on the side, you got Valvoline, and then you got Stanley, and then number 10 on the roof. And then you got the Scott Riggs' signature. You got the American flag on there. And then you got the King on the other side, but everything else is the same. And then you got the Stanley logo, and then you got, of course, Lightning McQueen and the King with the Valvoline logo, which is inaccurate to the car that he actually raced, because McQueen and the King were not present in the back of Scott Riggs' actual car. If you actually watched the 2006 Coca-Cola 600, and then this is the base, and got made in China, and then a bunch of legal jargon. And yeah, let's look at some of the features. Obviously, you could pop the hood on this one. Obviously, you got that glorious V8 that these guys would usually drive. You got Valvoline Stanley. But that's some good detail right there on the engine for sure. Man, we don't get diecast like this anymore, especially in the NASCAR line. And then you got some more good detailing. If you could kind of see it, but you always see you gotta see this in person. And then you got the window net, of course. And then let's see. And then the back actually opens, and then you see the fuel cell in there. Which I think these guys were running 13-gallon fuel cells during the Coke 600, because they did change it. And then the roof flaps actually deploy. Yeah, that's actually interesting. You don't see this anymore on these 124 scales of NASCARs really that much anymore, roof flaps, unless if you get the elites. But yeah, it kind of sucks anymore. It kind of sucks that they don't really have that type of attention to detail. And then actually the front tires actually do move back and forth. And of course you got the suspension components in here, which you can't really see. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's actual movement in the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a better example. You don't really see this anymore, which sucks, because this is a pretty cool feature to have, especially since this thing was made in the 2000s. But yeah, unfortunately, that's no longer a thing anymore. But yeah, honestly, that's pretty much it for the video. It sucks that I don't have Kyle Busch's car with the Cars logos on there. It would have been pretty cool, and unfortunately, honestly, there's no Tony Raines one, but I hope I can get a custom of that one day. And then this is actually another one of these. Well, this is a Hot Wheels version that they released to promote the first Cars movie back when it was coming out. And of course, you got Scott Riggs' 2006 car, which is a bit more different than the actual 124 scale. Obviously, this is also inaccurate to how it looks like in person, because yeah, the King, I don't think the King actually appears. It's actually supposed to be like this with McQueen. But yeah, but this was obviously a promotion. And then you got Scott Riggs, and then his signature, and then the number 10. Obviously, this card isn't in the best condition, but obviously I'm going to keep this in the package until I can get a pretty good one in packaging. I know these go for pretty cheap, so maybe one day I'll get one of these in good condition. You got, yeah, only in theaters. Yeah, this was back in 2006. Damn. Yeah, this is a great way, to reminisce, obviously, Cars' 20th anniversary, because because obviously there has been like other motorsports like the Mazda like MX-5 like series that ran a couple days ago with one of the teams actually running Lightning McQueen and the King, not the King, Chick Hicks paint schemes to commemorate the 20th anniversary. Porsche is actually doing the same thing. They're actually having Sally there on track and letting them actually drive it on and the Daytona in Daytona to commemorate the Cars' 20th anniversary. I hope NASCAR actually does do something for Cars' 20th anniversary. I hope so, but I don't know if Pixar will actually have them again. I think the last time that they actually had a partnership like actually at an actual NASCAR race was back in 2022 when the LA Coliseum was when the race when the clash was actually at the LA Coliseum and you had Lightning McQueen there. Lightning McQueen was actually supposed to be the pace car, but unfortunately they weren't able to drive it. And oh yeah, I forgot to actually show you the original packaging that this one actually came in. Yeah, this is definitely going back to the days when NASCAR was like the most popular sport the second most popular sport in the world, and they were actually getting great attention to detail, not like nowadays. And then Scott Riggs number 10 Valvoline, and then you got the Cars 2006 Charger, and then this is one out of 2,508 versions of or pieces, not pieces, but of like the numbering. So I think I had number 1. Let's see. I think it says somewhere right here. I'm not exactly sure, but I think this is number 1 actually. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, anyways, this video is already getting too long. So thank you guys so much for watching, and tell me in the comments. Are you a big fan of NASCAR? Are you not? Just let me know, cause yeah. Happy 20th anniversary, even though it's still not the 20th anniversary yet. And thank you guys all for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.